Let me tell you, Tesla shorts are shaking after this latest piece of news from Elon Musk. I'm going to assume that you already know what this news is. If you don't, here it is. Tesla will unveil the new Robotaxis on August 8th of this year. So just a couple of months away from now. And I want to start this off. There's a lot of context I'm going to share with you. I've been talking about this relentlessly for ever since V12 came out. I mean, that's been a leap, not a step, a leap in the positive direction. And I've been saying this for so long. Hopefully, some of you guys paid attention to it. I obviously didn't have a crystal ball, and I still don't. And there's a lot that we just don't know. But it was only a matter of time. Now it's coming. The number one thing that I will say right now is, again, I don't have a crystal ball, but have you ever heard anyone, maybe your family, your friends, your parents, whoever they are, say, I wish I would have known how big Apple would have become, or Amazon, or Facebook, or these other products, whereas maybe you were younger, or maybe you were a young adult, right? Or a teenager, whatever the case is, when you got your first iPhone, when you had your iPod, and, you know, when you think back to that, you're like, dang, I would have known to invest in Apple, right? The great product comes out. And at the time, 2007, when Apple came out with the iPhone, everyone not necessarily hated it, but it was not valued on Wall Street. People were going to say, or people said at the time, you know, analysts and hedge funds and money managers, most of them said, yeah, nobody's going to ditch the keyboard for a touchscreen phone. Like there was all of these doubters and all of these bears back specifically during the iPhone, right? Same was true with Amazon, with Facebook, with all of the great successes in American business history. There's always been people that hated on the company, the product, before it became very successful. I will say this right now, and I'm probably going to pin this video to the channel. I think, or essentially I know, that this is the iPhone moment for Tesla. This is the moment in which, if you're not invested in Tesla, if you're not invested enough in Tesla, if you sold out and you're waiting to get back in, and I think this is truly the moment you will look back 10 years from now and say, I should have known better. Just like Apple and just like these other companies, there's usually a product or a point in time where the whole game changes. And the Robotaxi is that for Tesla. Now, I can provide a lot of, reasonings for this, mathematical reasonings. I mean, I could sit here and point out that New York City alone, they just opened up applications for Robotaxis to enter New York City. Coincidental? Who knows? But New York City combined Uber drivers, combined taxi drivers, they have about 100,000 different mobile ride hailing services, right? Different cars. If you just consider each vehicle does 10 drives a day, that's 1 million drives per day combined. Times 365 days, that's 365 million drives, times about $45 per drive. You're looking at over $17 billion. Considering Tesla could take, let's say, 20% market share of that market, which I think it will likely be higher. If you factor in, a 25% net profit, you're looking at almost $1 billion of bottom line profits just to Tesla based on one city. Now imagine that with 3,000 cities. It is going to be massive on scales in which you cannot even fathom. Now, before we get to there's going to be steps in the road. There's things that are going to come. Tesla stock is going to do what Tesla stock is going to do. It's not going to be up and to the right, at least at first, But judging off of the move you've seen in after hours on Friday, up almost 4%, you actually went positive, considering the move in after hours compared to the 3.63% down move in regular trading. You were up 3.81% in after hours, a little bit more than that at one point. I think this is a pivotal moment for Tesla stock investors. And the last video that was just put out, I basically said in that video, this could be the last great buy the dip opportunity. And I don't know what the path ahead necessarily looks like. We have some catalysts coming up for Tesla, like Tesla earnings. For anyone that says earnings matter, they don't matter right now for Tesla. We all know it's going to be dog shit. We know it's going to be bad. EPS is going to be bad. Revenue is not going to look so great. Profitability is not going to look so great. Tesla produced like 70,000 more vehicles than they sold. Yeah, it's not going to look pretty. But Wall Street always pays attention to what's coming next. They don't give a crap about what happened last quarter, the quarter before that, or last year. They care about the next quarter, the quarter after that, and the next, coming years afterwards. Here's the deal with the Robotaxi network. This is what everyone was hyped up about in Tesla stock back in 2020 and 2021. When Tesla launched FSD beta back in 2020, everyone said the Robotaxi network is coming. And, of course, with enough time that was coming, but people realized it wasn't coming fast enough. And a lot of people just totally disregarded that. They took it out of their models. Right? I remember people saying Tesla is worth $600, $800, adjusting for the splits from, what we've seen since 2020. People were saying Tesla justifies a lot higher, multiple and share price based on what we had in 2020's FSD, before the Robotaxi was even really talked about from Tesla, or let alone this unveil. Point is, you have to start modeling the Robotaxi network, and the numbers you're going to be modeling if you're a Wall Street analyst are massive. They're not small numbers. They are huge numbers. In fact, it was actually funny, in after hours on Friday, you did see Uber sold off about 1.35% in after hours upon this news that Tesla's going to be launching the Robotaxi network. It actually sold off close to 3% at one point before bouncing. So it's definitely something that has to start getting baked into valuation models, which can lead to upside in Tesla stock. Sawyer Merritt says the number 8 is considered the luckiest number in Chinese culture. It's associated with wealth, prosperity, and success. Elon comments and says 8/8 and the year of the dragon. So there's obviously some sort of symbolic, maybe not message, but symbolic resignation with this reveal happening on August 8th. Tesla AI announced on their X account pretty much at the same time or shortly after Tesla and Elon officially announced the Robotaxi unveil on August 8th. Tesla unveiled that 1 billion miles have been driven on FSD, and just since September of 2023, you were at like 160 million miles. Now you're at 1 billion. It's been straight vertical to the right. Now that the compute constraint is solved for Tesla, you are going to start, business alarm, that's never good. You're going to start solving FSD and solving the little problems at unprecedented rates. In fact, Elon Musk says it won't be long before Tesla exceeds 10 billion miles of FSD. Now, let me tell you right now, here's the moat for Tesla. I've heard a lot of people talk about the moat for Tesla, the moat for Tesla, the moat for Tesla. And it really comes down to the data, the miles driven. For anyone, for a GM or a Ford or anyone that really wants to compete in full self-driving, they're never going to be able to collect enough data, let alone if they could spend billions and billions of dollars on, GPUs and processing power to process that data. They could probably manage the GPUs and, the compute power side, but how are they going to get all of that data? Unless someone were to hack Tesla, which seems very unlikely, you're not going to be able to get enough data to train a neural net network. And I think that's the true moat for Tesla. I also think this is a very important moment because let's face it, when Tesla unveils the Robotaxi network, they are unveiling that knowing damn well that every other auto company out there, BYD, Toyota, all of their competition, they're watching. And if you're unveiling the Robotaxi network, I wouldn't say you're taking a risk, but you really, I guess, kind of risk competition allocating a lot more resources to compete with you. You really put the competition on notice, like, hey, if we want any part of this Robotaxi business, we have to start getting, to work, essentially. And at the same time as that, all of these companies have cut back on their investments in EVs, in AI, in autonomous vehicles. But I actually think this could do something really good for Tesla stock as well. Some smart companies, Ford probably, maybe GM, maybe Toyota, they're going to say, Tesla's just too far advanced in FSD. We cannot catch up to that. We're never going to be able to collect the data. Again, the data is the problem. It's not the compute power. It's not none of that. It's the data. And unless Ford and GM equips basically an FSD beta for free on all of their vehicles, they're never going to be able to collect enough data. And even at that point, it's going to take a very long time to get 1 billion plus miles driven. Nonetheless, neither here or there. The smart companies, they're going to say, we should probably start to think about a partnership with Tesla so we don't get left behind and try to figure out a way in which it benefits both companies. These FSD partnerships, they're not just going to benefit the consumer. They're not just going to benefit Tesla. They're not just going to benefit Ford or GM or Toyota or another legacy automaker. Tesla's going to be the biggest winner for sure, and probably the consumer's ultimately going to be the biggest winner. But Ford and GM are also going to be winners with licensing of FSD. Say, for an example, Ford and GM, maybe they pay for the hardware that goes in the cars, like the cameras, and then when people opt for the subscription, maybe it's on a case-by-case basis, whatever it is, then maybe Tesla gets $150 of the licensing fee. Maybe Ford and GM get $25 or $50, whatever the number is. So it really will benefit both sides. And inevitably, I think there's probably a 50-50 chance that we get a licensing deal for FSD this year. That could be huge for Tesla's earnings, Tesla's bottom line, and really expectations going ahead into the future for EPS and profitability. But I think there's a greater chance of that coming after August, just to show everyone how far behind they are and how much they really just can't compete with Tesla after all. Now I think to the important part. Yes, Tesla doing the unveil to the Robotaxi network. Presumably, we're going to get some kind of guidance on when the Robotaxi network is going to be launched or when applications are going to be filed. First things first, we may get that announcement on August 8th. More than likely, we get some kind of guidance on Tesla's earnings. I think August 8th is more just unveiling the product itself, maybe going into a little bit more depth on how the product works and different things. Obviously, Tesla can't share all the secrets here, right? Their competition is watching with binoculars in the back row, like trying to figure out every little detail on how Tesla's able to do this. But I think first things first, you're probably going to get some kind of forward-looking statements on the Robotaxi network coming on the earnings. That's going to be on April 23rd. That is a day to mark your calendars for. And I'm struggling with this internally, trying to think about what this really means for Tesla stock from now until then. Because next week, we have data coming out. The markets are kind of in a weird spot. They're kind of fully valued. The Fed's talking pretty hawkish. The path for policy ahead looks like less cuts. Reasons why you may see Tesla stay subdued. But this is huge. It could lead into a run heading into earnings themselves. If we get a rally into earnings, I would expect maybe a little bit of a cool down, depending on what is announced coming after earnings. Or this could be a moment in which Tesla stock really recorrects to the upside. People have been so bearish on Tesla for so long. And I think people are going to be forced to kind of reconcile that and say, should we really be this bearish on Tesla? So I do think we're going to get some forward-looking comments about the Robotaxi, some sort of maybe unofficial guidance like we did kind of with Optimus. Elon said, yeah, maybe by the end of this year, we're going to start shipping out some units. My expectation for the launch of the Robotaxi network is basically the same timeline as the Model 2, the mass production. What it seems like Elon is doing right now, what the Tesla team is doing right now, hats off to them. Like, they are smarter than any of us by a long shot. They're freaking geniuses. When they get the training compute that they needed to really train the data on FSD, what they do? They gave everyone a month free trial to jack up those miles driven, get a ton more data. It's freaking genius. Like, hindsight is a beautiful thing. Hindsight's 2020, because when you just think about what Tesla has done the last year, 2 years, 3 years, it's all led up to this moment, and it's all really coming to a head here in the next coming months. But again, Elon and the Tesla team, they said by the second half of next year, they're going to start producing the Model 2. Now, the markets took that as really mass market production of the Model 2. Here's the deal. Tesla is going to start producing Model 2s in Texas. I believe that's going to be a period of time, the second half of 2025. The same timeline is really what I'm expecting for the Robotaxi network, the launch. But I think Tesla's going to start manufacturing thousands of Robotaxis first at Giga Texas, because the Model 2 and the Robotaxis, they're built on the same platform. In that time span, I think Tesla is really going to focus on getting the production down, right? So when Giga Mexico opens, that's when you're really going to see the mass production of the Model 2. I'm expecting that in 2026, if not closer to 2027. So you're pushing back the Model 2, but that doesn't mean Tesla is, delaying the platform itself. Just, I believe Tesla is going to start making Model 2s for the Robotaxi, likely by the second half of 2025. So probably like a year after August 8th. Now, the markets, they're going to price all of this in ahead of time. So if you think Tesla stock is going to go through, go to lower prices than where we are today, highly unlikely unless we get really bad news. Like price cuts, that might not even matter anymore to Tesla stock, considering how large the opportunity is with the Robotaxi network. I think this comes at a very interesting time as well, because right now you have the highest short position in Tesla stock, or the largest, maybe I should say, in Tesla stock that you have seen in years, okay? Tesla is highly shorted right now, highly shorted, and nobody was expecting the launch of the Robotaxi network. Today really caught everyone off sides. People were caught off sides by the false article from Reuters, the delay of the Model 2, and then Elon kind of rebutted that. And in that Reuters article itself, they kind of said Tesla's going to prioritize the Robotaxi, but everyone's like, that's a super far distance in the future, like maybe 2025. And then Elon just hit the markets with this news in after hours, and I think really caught the shorts off sides here. If you look at the short position in Tesla, you are 3.71% sold short, with $17.58 billion currently in short positions. Compared to 18 months ago, you are 38% more sold short today than 18 months ago. And that was when, the Fed was clearly raising rates super aggressive. Everyone thought there's going to be a recession, so on and so forth. Even cost to borrow fees on Friday were about 10%. Higher the cost to borrow fees, the more shorting activity that you typically see. That's usually how things work as far as cost to borrow fees. So there is a lot of people that are bearish on Tesla. Even retail investors have been bearish on Tesla like I've really never seen before. I've never seen this many people be bearish on Tesla. And it really just came at a bad time for those bears. Now, I'm not saying Tesla's going to go straight up and to the right, but there's a good chance that Tesla stock could rally for days or weeks. It's It's not, obviously there's going to be down days, but you could be setting yourself up for a rally well into the 200s again, because the opportunity with Robotaxi is so big. I mean, it is massive. It will be, mark my words, it will be the biggest transformation of technology you have seen in your entire life. Okay, as big as the iPhone, as big as the television, as big as basically any other product that you can imagine, but instead, the Robotaxi will actually save lives, right? FSD will save 50,000 lives a year in the US from car accidents, or a good chunk of those, right? There's still going to be, problems out there, but this is something that I don't think you can ignore. Now, Tesla stock, in the meantime, I think given the concentration in short positions, if I am correct, again, next week, I expect inflation's probably going to come in on the low side. I shared this, I believe, in one of the last videos. If not, I'll go ahead and share it for you guys right now. This is a fascinating chart. So if you look at this gray line is month over month PCE. This blue line is ISM service prices paid. So this is the data that we got on Wednesday, and it showed prices paid just fell to the lowest level you have seen since the crash of the Rona. Like, the services paid, the prices paid for services just came in at 53.4. Pre-Rona, you were at 59.8. So you had and you really never got to this level besides briefly in 2017. You hit a low of 49.6, a little bit of actually deflationary pressures then. And then during the Rona crash, you hit 50.4. The number that we just got last week was very encouraging. But what do you notice here? Inflation tends to almost perfectly, since really 2020, follow prices paid. That's a really good sign that you're probably going to get a good CPI number next week, and that could add a lot more fuel to the fire. Imagine there's over $6 trillion of cash on the sidelines that comes back into our markets. I mean, where is that money going to go? It's not going to go into big tech. It's going to go into interest rate sensitive names, companies that will benefit from rates going down. And I think you could start to see a broadening out of our markets. And maybe even a sell-off in big tech. Let's be honest, the stocks that are very highly valued, it wouldn't surprise me to see a sell-off in those names and some of that capital go into Tesla stock, again, because the stock is just so down and out right now. It's the worst performer in the S&P 500. And they just announced a Robotaxi event on August 8th. Like, all bets are off the table, what this truly does for Tesla over the next couple of months, let alone after the event. And if we get official guidance for the Robotaxi network on the earnings call, I think we will, because Tesla kind of has to explain what's going on following that Reuters post. Like, are they delaying the Model 2? Are they doing what I say? And are they going to start producing the Model 2, really get the production aspect of the Model 2 down, like flowing good, and start producing Robotaxis first? Once Giga Mexico is done, then start mass producing the Model 2. That's my expectation. Mass production was never going to happen at Giga Texas. The writing was on the wall for this for a year now, ever since we heard about Giga Mexico and heard about specifically the first production lines of the Model 2 being in Texas. Like, the writing was on the wall, right? I mean, it's so stupid thinking back now. Like how did we not see this a year ago? And some people obviously did, but most of us did not. At least the last couple of weeks, it's been pretty obvious. And again, the writing has been on the wall here. So yeah, this is, I think, one of those videos you might want to save. Hit that little plus button under the video. Save this to your watch later is what I do a lot on YouTube. I'm just going to likely pin it to the channel because I firmly believe this is one of those moments where you will kick yourself 10 or 20 years from now if you knew about this and did not invest in it. It's similar to the iPhone in 2007. It was a no-brainer to invest in Apple at that point, and you were rewarded handsomely. And I think about things in terms of wealth as, value created to society, okay? Wealthy people have created let's call it what it is, more value to society than people that don't have money, right? People that don't have money, they work for a company, whatever, make the company X amount of dollars. They're paid in accordance to the value that they monetarily provide to the company. If you're an Elon, if you're, any rich person, right? Jeff Bezos, you don't even got to leave your house, right? You get Amazon packages to your front door. It's very convenient. It saved people a lot of time. You know how convenient it is when I have my son and he's, out of formula and I can DoorDash a can of formula in 15 minutes. I mean, that's convenient. That saved me a ton of time. It's faster than I can pack him up, stop what I'm doing, pack my daughter up, and go run to the store and get a can of formula. I pay $6 extra. I mean, yeah, that's those kind of things demand the CEO, whoever founded DoorDash for that matter, as an example, to be rewarded handsomely for it. Imagine a Robotaxi network that takes the hassle out of dealing with a person. We've all seen disastrous, Uber videos. And imagine the lives saved, potentially 50,000 lives saved a year. What kind of value do you put on that? Or just if you own FSD, when it's fully good, right? You can sleep behind the wheel if you wanted to. How much is that going to add to your life? Add to the value that you can provide to your job or play with your kids or whatever the case is. So that's the way I like to think of products and the way that they have an impact on the world and ultimately how successful they are. You think about the iPhone, of course. Yes, that was huge. That's why Apple is what it is today. Amazon, same thing here. And I think if you're thinking about that, robotaxis could be larger by far than anything any of us can imagine. But again, I don't have a crystal ball. Things could get delayed. Who knows? But there's a pretty good chance that doesn't happen. Okay, that it comes relatively soon, probably on the same timeline, like I said, as the previous expected launch of the Model 2 around next year. Because when you open the spotlight to the world on robotaxis, you're opening the spotlight to competition as well. You got to be pretty confident you can deliver on, let's say, robotaxis, really any other product, within a short amount of time, or you're going to have competition that tries to do exactly what you are doing. And I do want to show a little bit of my position, at least this position in this portfolio, one that I've been building out more in, the last couple of months. And honestly, I hope Tesla falls more. I mean, I hope I can acquire as many shares as possible before the markets really appreciate the potential that's going to be coming. But in this portfolio, there is almost $14,000 in market value currently. Was up $6.42 today. Hey, that's like a sandwich maybe from Burger King. But total return down about $2,100 or about 13.3%. Average cost of $197.48. It got 80.24 shares currently in this portfolio. Portfolio diversity of about 24.16%. And basically the only thing I'm buying right now is Tesla. I believe the last time I showed this, I had like $8,000, $9,000 in Tesla. Recently put a couple more $1,000s in there. But looking to do that every couple of weeks until I build this position up into a behemoth. Because this is a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50x with a degree of relative safety, right? Usually if you're looking at a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50x in a company, odds are it's a small cap name. Odds are it is a company that has a greater degree of bankruptcy than I'm comfortable with. And overall, it's high risk, high reward. I think Tesla is low risk, high reward, relatively, right? Anything can happen, but at this point, Tesla's established, right? It's not just going to fail tomorrow. So I think Tesla is a very particular opportunity with relatively low risk. Current pricing would say it's low risk. If you're buying Tesla $400, maybe it's a little bit higher risk, but relatively low risk with high reward. And that's very rare to find. You don't get these opportunities all too often. So I think this is a pivotal moment in which it's kind of like the iPhone moment for Tesla. And like I said, hopefully Tesla falls, but I'm not convinced that's going to happen. And I will continue to buy for the foreseeable future, no matter what happens really with the share price in the short term. Let me know what you think about this information down below in the comment section. Hit that like button as well as subscribe to the channel. I apologize for this slightly longer video here, but quite a few thoughts I wanted to share with you. Provide your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thank you for watching. If you guys want to come join the trading community, check that link out down below in the description of this video. You guys have a great weekend, and I will see you in the next one.